Hello and welcome again to the Halloween listening party on FOTW Radio. This is IJ Wilson. Tonight's spooky story is written and read by Luke Applebee, an Australian writer who grew up in the western suburbs of Melbourne. His story is a cautionary tale of why it's not good to be too attached to earthly possessions, especially when they're not your own. I hope you enjoy Eat the Rich.
Blake plants his foot and the speedometer climbs 110, 120, 130 kilometers per hour. Outside, the wheels kicked up yellow dust, which obscured the monotonous wire fences as Blake rumbled along familiar dirt roads, passing acres of scorched, cracked earth and dilapidated farms. Oh shit! Blake swerved left onto a bitumen road and screeched down Lionel Crescent, leaving a trail of burnt rubber and acrid smoke behind him. In the haze and blur, what used to be simple shelters of tin and wood are now decades-old units and townhouses. He braked abruptly and lurched on the leather upholstery. I wonder if the old hag still lives there, Blake scratched his chin. The only house that hadn't changed was Mrs. Anders, a two-storey hovel surrounded by trees and shrubs. Blake parked behind a dented light blue sedan. Yeah, come on, baby, eat the rich. Great one, Lemmy. He killed the engine. The radio followed. He wrenched the door open, stepped out onto the asphalt road, and reached into the passenger seat for the briefcase, which clinked and rattled because the assorted knife collection it contained had come loose from their flimsy plastic casings. With briefcase firm in hand, he slammed the car door shut. Above the gleaming silver roof of the Lexus, Blake peered into the window of the unit directly in front of him. Grey vertical blinds, bland pine wardrobes, beige painted walls. Blake swung his briefcase to his side and approached the unit. Mrs. Anders' chimney a few doors up the road billowed smoke. The garden even halfway up the block was as wild and mysterious as it was all those years ago. Blake's polished black shoes met the pavement. There's pavement now, he laughed, and turned his attention back to the unit. As Blake brushed his fingertips along the cool metal latch of the waist-high gate, a boy pressed his gaping mouth and red-stained palms against the window from inside and yelled, but the glass muffled his litany. Before Blake reached the porch step, a pudgy, middle-aged woman with a lazy eye opened the door and stared. "Good afternoon," Blake forced a smile, despite detesting what he was presented with. "Great weather this weekend, hey?" She shrugged and grunted. "My name is Blake. I used to live here, you know. And I've got right here in this limited edition briefcase a stainless steel special for you. So just for today." The little boy clutched the lady's track pants by the knee. "Did he find my kitty cat, Kimber, Mummy?" The mother leaned to pick up her child. "No." Red raw dots peppered the lady's flabby, wrinkled arm. With arms outstretched, Blake offered the briefcase. "See here, I've got..." She shut the door in his face. Blake groaned and walked back to his car. The boy was back at the window, face pressed, sobbing. "Poor dude. Mum must be on the rag or something." Blake patted the side of his briefcase and sighed. "Oh well, wonder how old saggy Mrs. Anders is these days." Her garden had thrived over the years, getting wilder and wilder. Luscious plums glinted among the morning rain in the unrelenting sun. Apricots and apples were ripe for the taking, concealed by rose bushes and vines, which entangled everything from the brick fence along the perimeter to the cladding walls of the hovel itself. Nothing much had changed. Blake rubbed a smooth, hairy green leaf and released its mint fragrance. He tested the strength of one of the protruding branches with a tug. Rivulets of water splashed his sleeves. "I wonder if she died," he said out loud to no one in particular. Past the squeaky gate, along the meandering path of cobblestones and strewn twigs, Blake snatched fruit and filled his suit pockets. That same purple plum glistened from deeper into the garden. Looking left and right at the door and the windows to make sure nobody was watching, he squelched through knee-high grass and twisted the plum from its root, bit it, sucked the tart juices from the flesh and spit the stone. Satisfied, Blake approached the front door and rapped his knuckles on the pane of glass. A fracture split across the middle, a mere hair. He fiddled with his cufflinks and listened. Pigeons flapped, circling nearby. Everything else was still. Something creaked. Blake tensed. The curtains rustled. A frail, elderly lady wearing an apron opened the door. It was Mrs. Anders, and she was just as wiry and short as expected. But there was something unnerving that Blake couldn't quite figure out in the moment. He snapped out of it and went straight to business. "Good afternoon." Blake stood proud and licked a strand of fruit from his teeth. "Oh, you're early." She scratched her scalp and brushed her sparse white hair to the side. Clumps fell away from her hand. "I told everybody afternoon tea was at 2. Please, come in. Wouldn't want you to catch a cold now, would we?" No, Blake coughed, slightly confused. He swallowed his question. "Do you remember me?" Distracted by the yellow pigments on her pallid, gaunt cheeks and neck. Mrs. Anders waved him in. "This way, young man." She limped to the other side of the room. As Blake stepped through the threshold, the air hit him, heavy, thick with incense. The chalk dust tickled his nose and he sneezed. "Bless you," she said. Blake muttered, "Thanks." With her back turned, Blake lifted a pewter figurine from the top of the piano. It looked like a gold miner. There was a shiny rock embedded in its hand. He peeked around the corner to see Mrs. Anders shuffle into another room. He pocketed the figurine. "I'm in the kitchen, Blake," she shouted, her voice almost shrill. "You do remember," Blake said. He touched his chest. "Right. Name tag." Blake tiptoed past a glass cabinet. The shelves and the dolls inside trembled and rattled with every footfall. He grasped the cabinet knob. It was thick with dust. He pulled gently. "Say something?" Her face peered out from the kitchen door. Her azure eyes sparkled. Blake shot his hand into his slacks pocket. "Don't worry," she said. "Come in here and try some of my jam." Jars of dark purple jam lined the bench, the windowsill and the sink. Mrs. Anders offered a spoon thick with pulp. The viscous syrup touched Blake's tongue, sweet, grainy texture. His throat closed at the metallic taste on his palate. "And?" she said, eyes wide. "It's..." Blake swallowed the remainder in one gulp and lied. "It's, lovely." "Wonderful," she smiled. A dry tongue licked her top lip and retreated behind yellow pointy teeth. "I was concerned, you know, if it ain't broke. But Jane let me try her preserve and it was just sensational. I tried something different with this batch." "Well, speaking of something different," Blake wiped his tongue with a tissue, "I have something to show you." Mrs. Anders seated herself at the head of the table and gestured for Blake to sit. The telephone rang. Blake set the briefcase on the table, careful not to knock over the ceramic vase or disturb the elaborate plates. "Please excuse me." Mrs. Anders reached behind her to take the corded phone from the receiver. She nodded, giggled. "Why, good afternoon, Margaret. Yes, afternoon tea is still on. What's that, my dear? No, nothing like that today. We have plenty of jars for the Sunday fair, although..." Mrs. Anders' eyes flashed in Blake's direction. Her nostrils flared. "Actually, yes. You might as well bring them with you. I'm sure we can use them." Blake brushed his forehead and realised his hand was slick with perspiration. "Ta-ta!" Mrs. Anders returned the phone to the receiver. "Sorry for the interruptions," she said. "You were saying?" Blake paused, looking at the clock, 1:59. "I might wait until the other guests arrive." "What a splendid idea! I think I hear a knock at the door." Mrs. Anders scurried out of the kitchen without so much as a limp or a groan. Blake immediately inspected the cupboards. He slid the perspex across one and snatched a jewel-encrusted spoon. The floorboards creaked and the hallway was alive with elderly banter. Blake tried to slide the perspex back. Shit. He gave up and sat down. "Ladies, meet... Remember that naughty boy who lived across from the Chances?" Mrs. Anders said as 4 other ladies shuffled into the kitchen. The lady from next door dwarfed them all. A meek granny reached for a seat, stumbled and dropped her knitted bag on the carpet. Blake blushed. "Ah, yes, it's me, Blake. Hello. I'm a salesman now and, crap, don't worry, He bent over to grab the bag, but his hands froze mid-air as a heavy pewter figurine fell out of his jacket, along with 2 apricots and an apple. They all gasped. The ladies all shouted over each other. "He stole a souvenir I bought you from Sovereign Hill! Rip off his toes and pluck his teeth! Feed him Kimber's guts! You," Mrs. Anders pointed to one of the ladies, "bring me my fire poker to brand this cheeky little monkey! And you, open that briefcase, let's see what else he's stolen!" "Oh my," another lady said, "it's full of shiny, sharp knives." "They're mine," Blake said. "I told you, I'm a salesman." Blake watched helplessly as the other ladies wrestled the briefcase from him and each took a knife from his selection. And then he realised his keys were also on the ground. Knives sliced the air. He dived under the table at the feet of one lady. He clenched his fist and punched her kneecap. She squealed, dropped the knife to cradle her knee. Another granny pushed past her and sent crippled knee face first into the corner of the table. Her body spasmed and landed on the keys. Blake bolted for the hallway, narrowly missing a swinging blade. He reached the glass cabinet and tried to pull it down when something searing hot jabbed his leg behind the knee. Blake screamed, collapsing on one leg and pivoted to see Mrs. Anders holding her fire poker high. "We should have preserved you when you were a lad," she said. "Oh my dear, you are going to make a wonderful new jam. Who knows, I might even beat Jane for once in my life."
There's a tugboat down by the river, don't you know, where a cement bag just drooping on down. Oh, that cement is just, it's there for the weight to dare. 5 will get you 10 old Mackies back in town. Not to hear about Louis Miller, he disappeared, babe, after drawing out all his hard-earned cash. And now